Hey y'all, welcome back to another declutter video. If you've seen the others that I've been posting, it's the same stuff. We are decluttering category by category. I did cream and powdered cheeks already. I don't know what order they're going up, but this is going to be base products, which is primers, concealers, foundations, and powders. My cat scratched the dickens out of my hand, so I got it covered. I'm going to do powders first because I have the fewest of those, and swatching powders is weird. But we're going to do it because it does show, there is some relevancy, as far as I'm concerned, to swatching powders. And I only have 5. Technically I have 6, but this doesn't really swatch and it's almost empty. So I'm hoping to use this up soon. Okay, I'm gonna go with the 2 that I've been using most this year first. The Kosas, I have done some damage. It's getting a little bit of hard pan. No, it's not, I'm lying, it's fine. But look at that, look how pretty and blurring. It has no light reflection. And it just smooths everything. I love how little I can use of this to really blur my marionette lines, help take down a little bit of the light under my eyes. I have been using this under my eyes, which is unusual for a powder, but I love that powder. This is the Givenchy Prism Libre. This is the old formula that has talc. Apparently they reformulated it and now it sucks. And I'm so sorry to hear that because I really like this powder. It's one of the only loose powders I found that actually does what I want it to do. I mean, look at how pretty that is. And they changed it. Look, I am a talc sensitive girly when it comes to my face powders. I can completely understand not wanting to be left out, given how good this was. But if removing the main ingredient is just going to tank the entire product, that's not fair. It's not fair to the rest of us. Givenchy, please, I know, please take us back. Take us back. We want to be back to the original formula. Maybe they'll wake up faster than Glossier. This, I don't know what I'm doing with. This is the NARS Translucent Light Reflecting Setting Powder. I had the mini on my Christmas list a couple years ago, and my brother went and got me the full size, which I'm not complaining. I like having a nice big pan to play with, and I'm still playing with it. You can definitely see it in the light better because there's more reflection and it's less blur. But it's just one of those strange products that I'm like, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? I have been using it when I'm using like a glowier blush, but I want to set my cheeks. I'm still playing with it. I'm not ready to declutter it. I think that's what I'm saying is I am not ready to quit on this simply because it's one of just a few face powders and I know it exists and I'm willing to keep trying. That right there is the key. I am willing to keep trying. Make Beauty. I haven't been using this powder much this year, but look at her. She has been through the ringer. This one is probably the powder that I have the most pigmentation. Like this one actually has coverage. And I haven't been going for super high coverage powders lately. That being said, I will carry it on. I will carry it over and carry on and carry forthwith, and she's not going to go anywhere. I also do have a refill for this pan. And then the Well People. This is older packaging, but I do like this powder. It used to be called the Bio Base Baked Brightener, which is just a mouthful. Now I think they call it the super powder. I hope it still exists, but it's a It's another powder kind of like the NARS in that it's not completely mattifying, but it's got some light refraction that built in. I don't know how to explain it, and it's very weird, but I like it. So I'm going to keep it. Primers. If you saw my makeup hack video, which honestly I was really happy with and really proud of, I really was. You saw how all three of these went into this. So obviously I'm keeping this. It's kind of my mixed. Not much there, but that's okay because I don't need much. I actually wore this just by itself and it was really pretty. It blurred my pigmentation and my melasma and just gave my skin a really beautiful base. I was thrilled. So, I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna put it in my everyday makeup bin and hopefully remember to finish it. The blue tape means that it was in my project pan. I haven't done a project pan in almost 2 years. Since before I started my channel, I stopped project panning. That's how long I've had this. So if I haven't finished it by my next declutter, it's gonna go. These three I actually really enjoy having. So this is a mini of the Milk Hydro Grip. Why am I swatching primers? Because it helps to see what the finish looks like without anything on top of it. Now, I have seen this weird thing, and I only realized it after it was pointed out in a video about how this kind of gives your skin this it gives your skin this like otherworldly look where it looks like your makeup is floating off your face. And then I went and used it. I was like, "Oh my God, it does. It really does." But if you use it strategically in the places that you know your makeup is going to wear off faster, I know that if I am trying to get full coverage and trying to make my makeup last, I put this on my nose and I dab it a little bit under my eyes and a little bit around my mouth. So using it strategically is helpful. I don't recommend using this all over the face, but I'm going to keep the mini because it's small and I do know that it exists. This has been my first go round with the YSL Touche Claw Primer, which the few times I've used it on its own have been very pretty. However, I don't really see a whole lot of differentiation. I mean, yes, it's smoothing and it's blurring and it's beautiful, but how close is it to my RMS primer? We're about to find out. This is why we play the game, because sometimes the game plays you, other times you play the game. All right, so right off the bat, the RMS has just a little bit more glow to it, where the Touche Eclat is like very silicone-y, but also very blurring. And I feel like it's one of those that I could just wear by itself. If I don't want a whole lot of coverage, if I don't want to mess around with concealer, I could just wear this by itself and it would be lovely. And this is blurring, but it's got a bit more glow to it. It's also got a bit more moisture, which makes it different from the YSL. And I'm almost about halfway done. I'm about halfway done with it. I've had this about a year. I want to say I bought it about this time last year. So if in another year I'm done with it completely, that will be a win. That will be a win in my book. And then this itty bitty from Rare Beauty is almost gone. This is the illuminating primer. But you can see there, it's very glowy, which is we know that it's illuminating, so it's not going to be that much of a surprise, but it's also blurring. Look at how the light is hitting it. I'm using kind of harsh lighting today so we all can see these. That's really special. It doesn't have a lot of coverage. It's not a lot to play with. Let's look at it against Auric Glow Lust, which I never know if I should put with my highlighters or with my primers because it very much serves both purposes. This has a lot more coverage and it's got a bit of a warmer glow than the Rare Beauty. It's got a little bit more warmth where so this looks just a touch more yellow, where this looks just like a hair more silver slash neutral. And I love this product. I haven't used it in a while, but that's because I've been reaching for other stuff. It's fabulous. It's a nice hunky chunky bottle. I almost wish it wasn't so hunky chunky, but I love it and it's gonna stay. All right, another one that's glowy. This is the Ciate Dewy Skin, and it is both a glowing and a gripping primer that adds hydration. So it's like the beautiful trifecta of primers here. And you can see as it lays down and as it settles, it again gives just this really nice blurred finish, but it doesn't have quite the glow that either of these two. It just looks healthy and fresh and bright. And isn't that what we all want? This is the Touch and Soul Glassy Skin Pretty Filter Balm. I have been working on finishing it and I'm so close. Like you can see right there in the corner. That's what I've got left. And it's another one of these very nicely hydrating. You can go overboard with this very easily. You can overhydrate. I didn't know that was a thing for the longest time. I'm like, how do I overhydrate? My skin always looks like it's shriveling up. No, it's just overhydration. I like this. This is the second one of these I've finished, but it's taken me a while. So I will know in the future that I like it, I've used it, I've tried it. There are other hydrating primers to go around. That's going to be next. Drugstore. This is the Wet n Wild Glass Correct. I want to say this is also my second one of these. I have embraced my pink complexion and a little bit of my redness, but I still really like this, mostly because I don't feel like it has a whole lot of green color correction. It's just it's got this glowing effect, and I feel like instead of changing colors, it just makes my skin look brighter. All right, so I guess these are the concealers we're swatching. I feel like I had more than this, but maybe I've been... Oh, you know what? I have two that I'm currently working with testing, which are not eligible for declutter. That's it. Okay. We're good. All right, so let's use these two in a pot. Glossier Stretch Concealer really surprised me. This was my first, I tried it for the first time this year, and it's gorgeous. It's also a pretty good shade match, surprisingly. I am honestly always a little surprised when I swatch my face products against each other because they seem so different, and yet most of them work pretty well on me. So this is the NARS Soft Matte, which admittedly I don't use that often because it is so full coverage. It's so much more coverage than I usually need. But when I need it, I like knowing it's there. I really do like knowing that I have it. Same with the Bobbi Brown. I bought the Bobbi Brown and the NARS for the same reason. And I do use the Bobbi Brown a bit more than the NARS. I think part of it is it's a stick and it's just naturally easier for me to use. But you can see that it's just a smidge lighter. The NARS is just a little bit more rosy. The Glossier is the Glossier. Like, they're just slightly off, but the NARS looks so different because it's completely matte. It doesn't have any light reflecting particles, which is why it's that kind of dry, moussey texture. This, I have been working my way through. This is the Givenchy Prism Libre Skin Caring Concealer in shade C180. Oh my God, I could read that. Anyway, this has been my concealer of choice this year. It's just so good. You can really thin it out to get the optimal amount of coverage. I've worn it as foundation. I've worn it just under my eyes. And it took me some time to find the right shade. And I honestly think this is just a smidge dark, but it still works beautifully. And when this one's gone, I will be getting a new one. I'll probably get a slightly lighter shade, maybe. I don't know. I wish there was some place I could go to swatch this in person and really give it its due. It's a huge amount of product, and I'm starting to see lines in the side, and that means that I am working my way through it. I will be interested to see how much longer it lasts from this point. And the Tower 28, admittedly, I haven't used it as much as I would like this year, just because the Givenchy has completely overshadowed everything else. However, this is a gorgeous concealer. Mine is in the shade DTLA. These were all named after neighborhoods in Los Angeles, so there is no rhyme or reason to how they're named. And you can see that this one, what's the third one I swatched? The Bobbi Brown. They're just a little bit lighter. The NARS looks a little rosier. The Glossier is kind of more neutral, and the Givenchy is there. There's very little rhyme or reason to how these function, despite the fact that this one is lighter. It still works fantastically as a concealer. I have no complaints. For foundations, this is one area of my makeup life that I have really reined in. I have accepted responsibility for my overconsumption in the past and realized that like more than 5 foundations and I am over my limit. I am over the limit of what is reasonable for me to own and use. So the NARS Pure Radiant Tinted Moisturizer. First of all, I think I bought this in a shade that's a bit too dark. I got this in the shade Gotland, which is 1.2. I bought this over the summer when NARS had a sale, and my dermatologist was like, you really need a tinted sunscreen. Now, I don't know if this is the kind of tint they meant, but it's a lot for me to wear on a day-to-day basis. This is almost full coverage, which is bananas, but it is. That being said, I do want to hang on to it because it's a good mix-in if I want to add coverage to any of these three. I like having something full coverage in my back pocket, and the fact that this is also a sunscreen does not hurt the situation. Danessa Myricks, Yummy Skin. This is such a pretty base. Actually, I think I'm going to swatch the other base products I've been using that none of these I'm going to declutter. I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of decluttering satisfaction out of this video, but look at the Danessa Myricks in comparison to everything else. You'd think that this would show up wildly light on me. And it doesn't. It really doesn't. I don't understand it. And this is in the shade 2. Fenty, this is the original Eavesdrop. I tried the Eavesdrop stick this year. That was a disaster. I hated it. This in the shade, which is also in the shade 2, is quite lovely. And we'll get a nice little demonstration of the coverage over these scratches on my arm. Yeah, it's just a really nice self-leveling skin tint that does not announce itself. It doesn't make itself too finicky. It doesn't take over the show. It just kind of evens out the skin, reduces redness, and helps me go on my life feeling just a little bit better when my skin's not in the best shape. This has really this took me by surprise. I was stunned at how gorgeous this is. This is the About Face Performer Foundation in the shade Light 1 Neutral. Talk about executive dysfunction friendly packaging. I did not realize how my own peculiar brain chemistry would respond to having a dough foot versus a squeezy tube. The dough foot makes everything so much easier. It makes me a lot more willing to reach for this. It makes it a lot easier because I don't have to worry about getting my grubby fingers in there. And there's just something about that that makes my peculiar neurodivergent brain so happy. And look at that. Look at how it dries down. It's even, it's smooth, it's fast. Oh, it's beautiful and perfect. I do, out of sheer curiosity, I want to swatch other base products that I'm currently using. So these are, spoilers, these are products that I've been playing with and testing lately. I have 2 shades of the Ritual Defy Soft Sorcery Concealer, and I have the Dior Skin 24-Hour Forever Foundation Stick. The Dior Skin I have just been infatuated with. Wow. No one, so this is one of the best skin tone matches that I've ever gotten in a foundation period, and it's because I got matched in store. And if we look at it in comparison to everything else, it's rosier and it's not necessarily deeper. It's like right in the middle of the shade spectrum. But if we're talking about it in the color theory universe, it's warmer than everything else, which is just fabulous. Only thing I don't like about this so far is the fragrance. Everything else about it has just really, really satisfied me. And then the Ritual Defy concealers. So I got one of the lab samples when they announced that they were releasing this for the overarching public to try, and I was not impressed. Now I have 2 of these because this is the first shade I bought, which is Spell, I think it's either Spell 10 or Spell 01, and it's pretty light. Like the only thing on camera that I'm seeing that's as light is Bobbi Brown. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't work. It's just crazy brightening, which I don't always want. So I messaged Credo and they did that thing they do where they're like, hang on to what you got because we don't want you to send it back so we can trash it. So now I've got this one, which is slightly rosier, but I still think it's just a hair too light. This is 121 and the lighter shade is 111. So you can see almost right off the bat that it's definitely got a pinker undertone, and that in and of itself makes it a better shade match. It's still bright, but it's not as yellow based. There we go. Those are all of my base products. I don't know that I got rid of anything. That's perfectly normal for this kind of a declutter. I do have a backup of this Givenchy powder, and I don't know if I'm going to keep the backup. I mean, I probably will. I love this powder. It's beautiful. It's the only loose powder I have actually enjoyed using. Who knows? All right, that is going to do it for today's video. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I hope this was fun. I realize it was a little anticlimactic I didn't really get rid of anything, but it's just a chance to revisit what I have, get my fingers in it, touch everything, smell everything, make sure it's good to go into the following year. It's a chance to touch base, make sure everything is still good. I hope you all are taking care of yourselves so you can take care of each other, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye, friends.